UFC 296, Edwards versus Covington. We're gonna break down the entire card. I'm gonna give you my best picks for the card, and we're gonna analyze every fighter. Now, before we do that, let's do a quick breakdown and go over the last card we had, UFC Vegas 83, Song versus Gutierrez. So many of my picks lost, and I cashed out some, I lost some, I hatched some. But let's go over the fights. So the first fight, I think it was a robbery. In my opinion, Ariane won that fight easy. Now, I'll tell you that. In the first round, she looked phenomenal. In the second round, she was just dancing there. She wasn't doing shit. Now, Talita doesn't have good striking, and she barely hit her, but it just looked bad. It's like she was frozen, and I hate when fighters does that, and I will probably avoid putting any money on her in the future, because it didn't feel like she was really hungry to get that win. She was just dancing there, trying to avoid punches instead of going in there and killing her, and that's what happens. She lost by split decision. Tatsuro Taira versus Carlos Hernandez. I took the over here, and listen, guys, Tatsuro just came out looking phenomenal. He improved his striking. Obviously, we knew he had a good grappling base, but he showed how good is striking as well. I also took him by submission, and he just kept punching the guy until they stopped the fight. But I'm really looking forward on seeing how Tatsuro will go against Mukaev, because we know Mukaev striking is not that good. He's more of a grappling based, but Tatsuro has really good grappling. Like, he's super dangerous in the grappling department. So it's gonna be interesting to see how it goes. Next fight, so I had Stephanie Egger, and I cashed out like in the first round because she looked so slow. She was like rust. And I think it's time for her to just quit, because she looked terrible. Luana Santos just came in pushing. And that's what I like to see in a fighter. I want a fighter that will fight for the money I put on him. And Luana Santos is one of those. Now, I'll tell you that she came out way over the weight limits. And this is something that the UFC has to do in order to prevent this kind of things happen, because every pound you come over the weight limit, it's an advantage for you, because your weight cut was easier. And it felt like Luana didn't put any sort of, I'd say, any sort of drive to lose that weight. She wasn't doing anything, and it felt like she was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go overweight so I'll have an advantage. And I see it with a lot of Brazilian fighters. So I think that the UFC should really take out a point for fighters that miss weight, and then you'll see that no fighter is gonna miss weight. Next fight, we had Steve Garcia and Melquizael Costa. I didn't put anything here, but Steve Garcia looked dangerous. He came out in the second round like a monster, and he killed the guy. Shannon Ross and Yoon Sung Park. I put the over here, and thank God the over, I got the over 1.5 round, but Shannon Ross, I think its time is over. He's like a glass guy. He has no chin whatsoever. Every time he gets hit, he just falls on the ground. It's time for him to finish his UFC career. It's over. Kevin Jousset and Song. Jousset looks phenomenal. He kept picking Song with that jab, and he just looked really good. We haven't seen his ground game, because we know Kenan Song is very hard to take down, but Jousset just looked phenomenal, and I see a bright future for this guy. Andre Muniz and Jun Young Park. I took the over here, which the fight got to a decision. Andre Muniz went really heavily on the grappling. He was just holding John Young Park most of the fight, and John Young Park looked exhausted in the third fight. Like, he was barely breathing, like he could barely breathe at the end because he was that exhausted. So, he lost. I think Muniz won that fair and square. Elliot, my guy Elliot. I wrote on Twitter like that Elliot's gonna probably win by submission. And he won by submission, and it was phenomenal. We saw that Sumaderci, he's a good striker, but his weakness is his grappling. And we know Elliot is one of the top grapplers at 125. And although he fought at 135, he looked even better. He did the arm triangle choke, and like Sumaderci like spit blood because he had so much pressure on him. So good for Elliot. Nasrat Hakparest and Jamie Malarkey. I was surprised how fragile Jamie Malarkey had become. Nasrat is not like a KO guy. He doesn't KO, but man, he got Jamie with one good punch, and Jamie just fell like a potato. And yeah, Malarkey is done, man. His chin is glass. Khalil Rountree and Anthony Smith. So I picked Anthony Smith to win, and I also hedged with the over 1.5. Thank God the over 1.5 took, but Anthony Smith, guys, like zero IQ. Instead of trying to take Khalil down where he has his weakness, he just tried to strike with him. And you saw what happened. Like, Khalil Rountree is obviously the better striker, and he put Anthony down in the third round, and it just looked bad for Anthony. He should stick with talking to the microphone. I believe his time is done. Now, Gutierrez and Yadong Song. I put the over 3.5 rounds here because I know how durable Gutierrez is. And I'll tell you what, he looked good at the first 3 rounds. Like he had success against Song with the striking. But suddenly, at some point, he just got frustrated. Someone from the crowd started talking shit to him during the fight, which I think is disgusting. And he let that guy get into his head. And then in the 5th round, he tried to go for a leg lock or something, and he just stayed. Like, he let Yadong just maul him on the ground for the entire round, and Yadong won. I really think Gutierrez has potential. He just needs to work on on the mental side, and also on his takedown defense. But I like Gutierrez. I think that his kicking game is something else, and I really look forward for his next fight. I'm sure he will go up the rankings as time goes by. This is the recap. Now let's go to the UFC 296, Edwards versus Covington. We have the first prelim fight. We have Randy Brown and Muslim Salikhov. I like Randy Brown here, and I'll tell you why. Randy Brown is, first of all, his reach is much longer compared to Salikhov. We see 78 compared to 70 reach. Now, Randy Brown is faster. He has really good boxing, and I believe that age is going to play a role for Muslim Salikhov. He's 39 years now. We saw he lost with a decision against Dalby. Now, that aged well because we saw how good Dalby is in his last fight against Gabriel Bonfim. But man, Randy Brown with the reach advantage, I think I just see him keeping distance, and Salikhov is not like a wrestler, is not like the average Dagestani. He's more of a striker. So I see Randy utilizing the reach and his speed to win by decision. I don't see him knocking out Muslim Salikhov, but I see him winning a decision. Next fight of the bout, heavyweight, we got Shamil Gaziev and Martin Buday. Now, a guy named Shamil can't lose against a guy named Martin, and I'll tell you why. Shamil is a menace. We saw in his Dana White Contender Series how dangerous his striking can be. With one punch, he took Velasco down and then took the submission. And Buday, man, I saw some of his fights, and on his with the first round against Jay Collier, like Jay Collier was dominating. He actually took Buday, like he knocked him down, Buday. And let me tell you something, Shamil has more sting on his punches compared to Collier. He's much heavier than Collier. I can see him putting Buday down, probably via knockout in the first round. And the only worry I have for Gaziev is that he's gonna gas. I'm not really trusting his gas tank. I know Buday can go 3 rounds, but there was one time Shamil went to in his professional career. One time he went to a decision against this guy Karol, and he won by a split decision. So that's my only worry, to see him just gassing if he can't take Buday out in the first or second round. So that's why I'm gonna pick Shamil. I think he can finish him in the first round. Buday didn't really go against any good competition in heavyweight, so give me Shamil to win, probably by finish. Next fight we got Fili against Lucas Almeida. And Fili all day. This is like my highest conviction pick. Lucas Almeida, he was battered by what's his name against Pat Sabatini. Like Pat Sabatini, like from the beginning, took him down and controlled him. Now we know that Pat Sabatini, we know he's a phenomenal grappler and he can do it to most people on the ground, but I'm not really impressed by Lucas striking. Like, he's not a really good striker in my opinion. Like, yeah, he got but most of his KOs, like, are, other than this guy Michael Trizano, most of his KOs came from the regional scene. Obviously, he didn't fight too much in the UFC. With that being said, I see this going to a decision. But Fili, man, he looked phenomenal in his fight against Nathaniel Wood. I actually, at some point in the fight, like, it felt like that he's gonna win. He knocked down Nathaniel Wood a few times, and he won against Bill Algeo, man. That's impressive, winning against Bill Algeo. And I don't see any way Lucas is winning here. Maybe a flash KO, but Lucas Almeida, he's durable. And not Lucas, Fili is durable. We saw Nathaniel Wood putting down Fili a few times as well in the fight, and eventually he won. But this is like a really big step up in competition for Lucas. Give me Fili all day to win, probably by knockout or by decision. Next fight, we have Tagir Ulanbekov and Cody Durden. I like Durden here, guys. I like to put my money on fighters that fight. Like, I want a fighter that will give everything he has in the cage. I want a junkyard dog, and you don't get a better junkyard dog than Cody fucking Durden. This guy is a beast. He's gonna go forward. You can choke him for a minute. He's not gonna get oxygen to his brain, and he's gonna keep fighting. And that's what I like about a fighter. And he's a pressure fighter. He has really good wrestling, and he improved his striking a lot. Like his striking now looks phenomenal. I wouldn't say like he's like his striking is good, but Tagir, man, I rewatched his fight against Team Elliott, and he doesn't go well with pressure. And Cody Durden is a pressure fighter. Now the only worry I have is Cody Durden getting inside Tagir's guillotine. That's my only worry. We saw it happening to him against Mokaev. That should have been a really good fight if Mokaev wouldn't get that choke. I think that the American wrestling Cody has is going to be better than the Dagestani wrestling that Tagir has. I think Tagir is just going to wait for Cody to try and double leg and try to get his neck. I hope Cody is aware of it and he learned from his mistake against Mokaev. We might actually see also a striking match between Durden and Tagir because they're both are really good grapplers. And I like Cody's striking better. I think that he has more pressure. He's more durable than Tagir. And we saw Tagir gassing at the third round against Team Elliott. So give me Durden to win. I see him winning probably by a hard-fought decision. That's my pick. The over here would look good. I'm really cautious taking the over just because Tagir, he might get that guillotine, so that's my only worry. But I'm going Durden. Even if he loses, I know it's gonna be worth it. Next fight, Alonzo Menifield and Dustin Jacoby. I like Jacoby here. I think that Jacoby is a better striker than Menifield. Like in his fight against Khalil, like many people say that Dustin won, and he's like striking wise, I just see him better than Alonzo. Like they're both are strikers, but I think that the experience Dustin has, also the kickboxing background and all that, I think it's just gonna be too much for Alonzo. Probably winning by a hard-fought decision, but my pick is Jacoby. I think he can win. Next fight we have Casey O'Neill and Ariane Lipski. I like Casey O'Neill, and I'll explain why. Ariane Lipski is coming from a Muay Thai base, and Casey O'Neill, she's a pressure fighter. Like we saw her fight against Jennifer Maia. Although she lost, the only reason she lost was because she couldn't put Maia on the ground. We know Jennifer Maia has really good takedown defense. I don't see Lipski surviving the pressure. I see Casey O'Neill getting her to the ground every round and just getting control over her and winning a decision. Just like spamming her from the top and winning. I like O'Neill. I like her pressure. She's a killer, and that's why I'm picking her to win. Next fight, Cody Garbrandt and Brian Kelleher. Cody Garbrandt he doesn't has that sting anymore. It feels like he's not really taking a risk during the fights, and he likes to stay on the outside. His chin is also questionable. He got knocked out a few times against Munoz, against Kai Kara France, and that explains why he was very cautious against Trevin Jones. On the other hand, Brian Kelleher, he has a good chin, and he lost by submission against Umar and against Mario Bautista. I don't see Cody getting a submission here. And I see Brian Kelleher just pressuring him, and it's eventually getting that knockout. I like Kelleher here. Give me Kelleher as an underdog. That's good value. Next fight, we got Irene Aldana and Karol Rosa. I like Aldana here. Her last fight against Amanda Nunes, it felt like she was frozen. Like she hasn't done anything. She just let Nunes butcher her for 5 rounds. We saw how durable she is during those 5 rounds. But I think she just had too much pressure during that fight, and it was hard for her to handle the pressure. Irene Aldana, she packs a punch. She has power in her hands, and she also has decent grappling. And I don't see Karol Rosa like getting the best of her. I don't see Karol Rosa winning here. Like she doesn't have better striking or better grappling. She was never knocked out. So I like the over in that fight. Might be a dangerous over because we know Aldana is strong, but I'm probably not gonna put any bet on this fight, but I for the sake of the video I'm gonna pick Aldana to win. Next fight, we got Josh Emmett and Bryce Mitchell. I like Emmett here. I think Josh Emmett can win. Bryce Mitchell is coming short notice to this fight, and if we know something about Emmett, he has good takedown defense and he's dangerous with his hands. Like Bryce Mitchell is not known for his striking. Bryce Mitchell is known for his grappling. And if this fight, probably if I would make a bet here, I would do it live, probably round 2. Because if Bryce Mitchell manages to take Emmett to the ground like easy, then it's Bryce Mitchell all day. But if he can't take Emmett to the ground, we might see another Topuria fight all over again, because Josh Emmett he's dangerous. Josh Emmett, he packs power in his hands, and although he's almost 39 years old, he looked good against Topuria. I was betting Topuria, and obviously Topuria was dominating, but he went to a decision with him. He ate those punches, and he's good. I like Emmett. I'm gonna pick Emmett in this fight. I think that Bryce Mitchell is good, but this level of competition going against Emmett is really gonna test his ability to see how he handles good strikers with good takedown defense. And I don't like Bryce Mitchell coming here short notice. Give me Emmett to win, hard-fought decision, or by knockout. Vicente Luque versus Ian Machado Garry. So we all know what's happening now with Ian Machado Garry and his wife and all the WAG BS and all that shit. My question is, how does it affect him? I see Ian winning this. Just like Ian definitely has the better striking, but we haven't seen him going against a grappler and a wrestler such as Vicente Luque. So if Vicente manages to take it to the ground, I see Vicente winning. If it stays on the feet, Ian wins all day. Ian also is not that durable. Like we saw him getting knocked down by Song, I think it was. And Vicente might get him. My only worry is that Ian mind is fucked with all the thing happening right now on social media, on Twitter. And obviously that can affect him. We saw Israel Adesanya, he didn't look the same. And he had all the bullshit about like the dogs, he having some sort of BS with his dogs and all that shit. So that might affect Ian, I'm pretty sure. So I'm probably not gonna bet this fight. I'm just gonna watch and enjoy. I'm saying Ian is winning here, but it's gonna be a hard fight. Probably by decision. I'll go decision. Now we have another interesting fight. Tony Ferguson against Paddy Pimblett. I gave Tony Ferguson the benefit of the doubt in his last fight against Bobby Green. I said he looked super focused. He gave me the impression like he's coming to win. But listen, he's almost 40 years old, guys. This is nature. Like, he's not the same. Tony Ferguson is not the same guy he was at his prime. And time takes the best of him. And I don't see him winning against Paddy. Paddy is a well-rounded fighter. He has good striking. He has good jiu-jitsu. And Tony just looks slow, man. Like in his last fight, I remember I was just watching and I said, like, please stop. Like, seriously. For your own legacy, for your own health, stop. I want Tony to win, but he's not going to win. I see Paddy winning either by decision or submission. He can win anywhere. Tony is done, in my opinion. It's time for him to focus on life after MMA. I hope he wins, but Paddy is just too well-rounded, young, strong, on the upcome. I see Paddy winning this all day. Next fight, Shavkat Rakhmonov and Stephen Thompson. I think the obvious choice here is Shavkat. This guy's an animal. 17 wins, all by finish. Thompson is a phenomenal striker, but Shavkat is smart enough to understand that Stephen is a phenomenal striker and take this fight to the ground. It's probably gonna be Thompson's first loss via submission or probably TKO. I just see. Listen, like, you know, when I see Stephen going against Gilbert Burns and winning, and losing decision, it's because Gilbert Burns with his takedowns and all that. Same with Bilal. That's the problem. That's like his weakness for Stephen. And you know, he's 41 years old already. 40 years old. It's gonna be 41 soon. I just see no way he's gonna win. Shavkat, as expected, is a heavy favorite. He's winning. There's no way. Like, he missed his sister wedding to be in training, so I'm pretty sure he's not gonna lose. Co-main event, we got Alexander Pantoja against Brandon Royval. Guys, I like Alexander Pantoja. He's a dog. He's a dog. He's gonna go and he's gonna get the win for the second time against Royval. We got the obvious advantage for Pantoja that he's a better grappler. We saw that in the first fight he had against Royval. Like, he was dominating him the entire first round. He let Royval he made him tired, and second round he got that submission. I see the same thing happening all over again. I don't see. I think this should be 5 rounds because this is a championship bout. But I just don't see Royval winning here. We have Pantoja, he's an animal, man. Like his fight against Moreno, I'll be honest, I put my money on Moreno, but because Alexander looked so tired in the first round, but somehow he kept pushing, and it seemed like he has an endless gas tank, and he was controlling Moreno many times. Now we see Brandon Royval, he lost to Moreno and he lost to Pantoja. And this is MMA at its finest, but Pantoja winning against him in the past, Pantoja winning against Moreno. I like Pantoja. I think he can win this. Give me Pantoja to win. Now we have the welterweight championship. Leon Edwards against Colby Covington. This is gonna be good. Now, the question here would be, can Colby Covington get Leon to the mat and control him? Because Leon has the striking advantage. That's 100%. He has the longer reach, and he's the better striker overall. He has longer legs, longer reach, and he really, like, we saw how better his takedown defense became against Kamaru. And we really saw that takedown defense in the second fight against Kamaru. Now, some may say Kamaru is washed and all that, and his knees are gone. But, Kamaru is the only guy who won against Colby. Like, I think there's one other guy that won against Colby. But he won against Colby twice. I just don't see him winning against Edwards. My pick would be Edwards. If you have an over 2.5, if you can get the over 2.5 or something like that, but I see this going to a decision just because Colby is really, really durable. Edwards was never knocked out, and he only lost by decision or disqualification. I see Edwards winning. He might knock Colby out if he gets the same headshot like he got against Kamaru. But yeah, give me Edwards to win by a hard-fought decision. That's my picks, guys. If you enjoy this content, please like the video, comment, let me know what's your opinion about the upcoming fight. Who's your picks? Do you agree, disagree? Let me know in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one.